When you think of these things, what fantasy race comes to mind? That's right, kids, dwarves. Rocks, grudges, and alcohol. That's it. That's a cultural triangle. Their entire society is underground, forged from stone, and soaked in ale. Every city is packed to the brim with forges, breweries, and shouting about grievances that occurred 10 generations ago. Oh, we live in the halls of our ancestors. Cool, bro. You also live in a volcano. That ancestral pride doesn't make me want to live in a place that smells like sulfur and hasn't been aired out since the dawn of your civilization. Literally every dwarf kingdom in fantasy has one of two backstories. We built a glorious mountain city, it was perfect, now it's full of spiders. We dug too deep, found something evil, and now it's full of ghosts. That's it, that's the pattern. You could randomly generate an entire campaign setting just by asking, okay, what cursed thing did the dwarves uncover this time? Ancient demons, it's possible. Undead kings, more than likely. Giant worms, almost definitely. Maybe if you guys just took a break from spending all your time trying to dig to the center of the earth, you wouldn't keep releasing literal hell. Dwarves don't just like making things. They make things mainly to brag about how hard it was. Making anything has to take months, or otherwise people might think that it's not crafted well enough. Craft beer has to take several months to be fermented. Every piece of armor must be crafted to handle every war for the next 3 centuries. And even a simple pickaxe needs to be crafted to handle a million swings, even though they'll just lose it fleeing from whatever evil they manage to mine towards in a few days. I'd be more impressed with their craftsmanship if they just let it speak for itself and wouldn't keep telling me over and over again how impressive it was. I'll admit that having gear that will outlive your great-great-grandson is impressive, but dwarves have a knack for misplacing their most impressive weapons and armor. It's almost like they want every future dwarf to spend their life looking for the family's long-lost treasures. Maybe a few of those dwarf descendants had a passion they wanted to pursue, besides finding granddad's lost Warhammer and great-grandma's golden locket. Can we get a dwarf who wants to be good at something that's a little more short-term, like a baker? You know, something that lasts only a few days before it goes bad? Dwarves don't just have facial hair, they have beards right out of the womb, and then it just keeps growing from there. Ever heard of a dwarf shaved to see if they look better without one? Their beards are sacred, and how they identify just how successful of a dwarf they are. If a dwarf actually does shave their beard, that's not a fashion choice. That's a death sentence. That's like getting excommunicated and kicked out of the clan. Every dwarf clan has beard rituals, beard combs, beard braiding traditions, likely even beard duels. Not sure how that works, but they'll probably shun you for not knowing how beard duels work either. These guys are just weird when it comes to beards. Dwarves have beef with elves, orcs, goblins, trolls, humans, other dwarves, and the concept of basic hygiene. They are a grudge-based species after all. That's their mechanic in some game systems. In Warhammer, they actually write down their grudges in a book, like canonically. An entire book full of people they hate. That's not a racial feature, that's a red flag. Oh, my great-great-grandfather was insulted by her father about his craftsmanship 200 years ago. Cool, guess we have to fight now? Don't really know who you are, but I guess I have to uphold my father's honor? Apparently dwarves never forget and never let go. If a dwarf is not in a tavern, they're on their way to a tavern or building a new tavern or fighting someone over a tavern they lost in a bet. Alcohol is not a pastime for dwarves, it's a lifestyle. You could replace every healing potion with a pint of ale and they'd be fine with it. They don't drink juice, they don't do water, they drink beer, and beer has all the fluids they need. Even their religion is like 70% brewing techniques and 30% tips on maintaining their forge. Dwarves in fantasy are usually the most tech-savvy race, but only within their strict dwarven limits. Those limits being that they have to involve steam and gears. They can build a steam-powered artillery with lots of gears, mechanical traps that grind you in between some industrial-sized steam-powered gears, and tanks that, to no one's surprise, operate off steam and numerous gears. They can invent just about anything with those two things, except indoor plumbing. Like, hear me out, a steam-powered shower? The gears can be hot and cold or something, just please start bathing. Oh, we invented this new invention called an elevator. It allows us to go deeper into the mountain. Cool, can you build one that takes me to the surface every once in a while? No. I love how every dwarven stronghold is basically a multi-level dungeon waiting to collapse. Have you ever noticed that? It's like they want to leave behind a dungeon to be plundered by a band of adventurers. Endless bridges over bottomless pits, pressure plate death traps, lava waterfalls that lead to a forge just letting molten liquid splash all over, and spinning gear elevators with no handrails. Who designed this place, Bowser? Dwarves claim that their structures are built to last and always brag about how grand their home was. And then they build their home inside an active volcano, under a dragon's lair, with an unsealable entrance to the Underdark. That's some prime real estate, buddy. I can see why your ancestors decided to settle there. Have you ever seen a dwarf admit they were wrong? Have you ever witnessed a dwarf ask for directions? Have you ever tried to get a dwarf to accept help from an elf? I didn't think so. All their successes were over 1,000 years ago. Nowadays, they're too stubborn to try anything new because that means their ancestors didn't know best. Dwarves don't consider their pride a flaw though. They consider it their greatest asset. They believe that if they weren't so stubborn, they'd have gone extinct by now. They'll go down swinging with a battle axe in hand against hordes of enemies, genuinely thinking that they'll take down every last one of them. It's really a miracle that their collective stubborn pride hasn't gotten them all killed. Dwarves don't just build things, they forge legacies. Every item is an artifact, every stone has a name, every hammer is Hammer of the Second Anvil Bearer, he who wields the power to crack the sky with his swings. Okay, but does it really hit hard, or is that just marketing? Of course it does, it was blessed by the Forge Father and passed down 5 generations. I mean, it looks nice, but if it isn't a +2 weapon, it isn't better than what I'm currently using. I really don't care whose grandfather made it. So yeah, dwarves, fantasy's grumpiest, drunkest, most heavily armored uncles. They're loud, they're resilient, they're proud, and they will absolutely pick a fight with you at the tavern if you look at them the wrong way. They dig too deep, they drink too much, and they'll never admit the downsides of either. Every party needs one, so you can have a punching bag that will hurl insults back at you. And they are definitely fantasy's most pretentious hipsters. If you liked the video, make sure to check out my other releases on the channel and subscribe because I'll be releasing a ton more like these. And if you want to support the channel, you can get 10% off when you use code LukeGoblin at gamersupps.gg. Be sure to try out the flavor of the day called Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000. It's perfect for any sweaty dwarf looking to stay hydrated while working the forge all day, or if you just like strawberry lime. If you want a free sample before you buy, or caffeine-free versions for any of the flavors, my link works for that too. Farewell for now.